Tonight we're here with Marta Pacek. My name is Serena from noiseography.com. So first, Marta, I want to ask you about your humble beginnings. Tell me a little bit about being in Poland and going to Australia.
Well, I was born in Poland and my parents immigrated to Australia when I was a child, so like a baby. So I was brought up in Australia, hence why I sound Australian, not Polish. And yeah, I grew up there, and I came to Canada in 2008 for the first time, and I've been touring around the world for the last 4 years.
When I grow up, I want a cowboy with dust all over his jeans, with a horse named Jack and a 10-gallon hat. He's nice, but he looks so mean. If you were a cowboy, I wonder, could I be your girl?
You recorded with a lot of big name people, and you worked with a lot of big name people in your EP. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
My first EP was literally my first kind of attempt at songwriting, and basically it was with a gentleman called Mark Seymour, who's like an Australian icon in songwriting, and it was very lucky. It was like I had moved to Melbourne for the first time. I've moved out of home, which is my hometown, Canberra, which is a very, very small town. I moved to a big city, and I enrolled in acting classes where I met Mark Seymour. And he was very instrumental in teaching me how to write, like kind of the craft of writing. And so we wrote a handful of songs together, and we hit the studio, and he featured on the album, and he sang and played and kind of co-produced it. And it was, for me, it was a new experience. It was very hands-off. Like, I wasn't really part of the production. I just basically worked with the producer, and I just went in there, and he hired all the session musicians, and it was very different to Rebel Baby, which was the polar opposite of that.
When I grow up, I'll be a lady. All my rings will be made of gold. I'll put flowers in my room, and I'll wear perfume, and I will listen to rock and roll. If I were a lady.
So touring a lot before the release of your new album, how did you find that? You've been all over the world touring. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that, including playing with the orchestra, which must have been really fun in Milan?
Up until about 2 years ago, I was convinced that I would probably just write a lot of songs, and those songs might get radio play, and they might make a couple of television series, and that was the kind of the modern way to make it in the music industry. But about 2 years ago, I started getting the touring bug, where I started touring with a band by the name of Vinyl Station, who were based out of Phoenix, and I was only a support act, but I got the bug of traveling and playing to audiences, and not my friends, total strangers, and having like total strangers like my music and connect with my music, and that's really addictive.
You also had the opportunity to play at many festivals like the ECMAs, Canadian Music Week, as well as North by Northeast. How did those go?
Great, yeah, we had a really good time at the ECMAs, and Canadian Music Week is by far my favourite Canadian. Oh,
Even as an Australian, you love the Canadian Music Week.
I love Canadian things in general. I like Canadian people. I like Canadian roots music. I love Canada. That's not to say that I don't love Australia.
Marta loves Canada. You heard it here first.
I love Canada.
I know you're not playing a role for me, babe, but I've taken quite enough. Well, I'm some stain on your bedsheet. You're my diamond in the rough. But darling, I'll bathe your skin. I'll even wash your clothes. Just give me some candy before I go.
Tell me about Rebel Baby. The production, who produced it, who did you work with? Over 27 musicians is huge for one album. Tell me a little bit about that process.
It kind of got out of hand. After the first record, I wanted to do something that was really representative of me, because I felt that the first record, I had no involvement in it. It was really like, it was basically I handed my songs to a producer and he did everything. So with the next one, I was like, I want to be involved. I want to do pre-production. I want to do...
So you wanted the full-on hands-on experience throughout the whole album, whereas before it was more, you weren't being guided, so it's a lot better.
Yeah, no one really guided me. I spent about 6 months locked in my bedroom every day, and I did a lot of pre-production. By the time I got on the road, the songs were already there. The flute parts were written, the violin parts were written, and I'd kind of composed them on the piano in my bedroom. But the album was not planned. Like, the songs just came about. It followed my touring schedule, really, because wherever I was in Italy on tour, and my drummer had put this amazing band together, like the caliber of musicians that I'd never played with before. And I just turned to him and I said, do you think we could get a studio and just lay down some tracks? He was like, of course we could. And I was like, okay. So we got into a studio and we just played these songs. And the interesting thing was that they excelled at the country songs. I never thought that would be the case. I kind of selected songs that I thought that they'd be really good at, but they gravitated to the country songs. So Over to Your Side, which is probably the most kind of bluegrass country song on the record, was recorded by Italian people in Milan, which I think is...
That's so beautiful.
They did a really good job of it. And you'd think it was some band from, I don't know, Virginia or Texas or something, but yeah, it was recorded in Italy. So what does that say? Music is kind of universal.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us this evening.
Thank you, noiseography.com.